Good morning, class 10, and welcome to this class. In the last class, we have studied about flora and fauna, depletion of flora and fauna, and a global concern to preserve the in situ and ex situ conservation. And today we are going to see on the conservation of forests and wildlife in India. Why do we need to conserve our forests and wildlife? We need to conserve our forests and wildlife because it preserves ecological diversity. It preserves a life support system, water, air, and soil, and it preserves genetic diversity of plants and animals, which generates better breeding. Now let's see how the government of India is trying to preserve the wildlife. The government of India passed the Indian Wildlife Protection Act and it was implemented in 1972, and it contains many provisions for protecting habitats. And the main focus was on protecting the remaining population of certain endangered species. And for this to be accomplished, hunting was banned, legal protection was given to the habitats, and trade in wildlife was restricted. National parks and wildlife sanctuary were set up by the central government, state government, and several projects to protect endangered species have been implemented by the central government. And within this project, many types of animals have been protected in a very unique way. Now let's see about the Project Tiger. This project was formed in 1972 and launched on well-published wildlife campaign in the world. There are 27 tiger reserves in India covering 37,761 square kilometers area. And we have the Corbett National Park in Uttarakhand, Sundarban National Park in West Bengal, Bhakra National Park in Madhya Pradesh, Sarkisha Wildlife Sanctuary in Rajasthan, Manas Tiger Reserve in Assam, and Periyar Tiger Reserve in Kerala are few of the tiger reserve of India, and these reserves are mainly aimed to conserve tiger. And this project aims to protect and reduce the high biotic pressure that affects the fragile but unique habitat of the tiger and protect the tiger from man's greed for extracting natural resources as well as poaching for illegal trade. And why there is a main threat to tiger population. And here we'll see about the main threats to the tiger population are poaching for trade of tiger skin and bones, shrinking habitat, depletion of prey species, growing human population extra. Now we shall see on how the government is trying to protect the forests. Okay, the government is trying to protect the forest by classification of forests. And here we'll see the classification of forests. The forest is being classified into reserve forests, and these are forests which are permanently marked for production of either timber or other forest produce. Grazing and cultivation are not allowed, and more than 50% of the total forest land has been declared as reserve forest. And I will see about protected forests. These forests, grazing and cultivation are allowed subjected to a few restrictions. Almost one third of the total forest land is declared as protected forest. At the same time, it indicates these forests are protected from further depletion. And we have another type of classification of forests is unclassed forests. This consists of inaccessible forests or unoccupied wastes. They belong to both government and private individuals and communities. And these are mostly found in the northeastern states and parts of Gujarat where these are managed by the local communities. And now in conservation of wildlife and forests, It is not only the duties of the government to see that the forest and wildlife are being protected, but it is the community also needs to take part so that the forest and wildlife will be protected. And we have community and conservation. And many local communities struggle to devise ways and means to conserve the habitat with the help of government officials. They are aware that will certainly secure the long-term livelihood. So we see that the community also is trying to help to conserve forest and wildlife. And we have these are some of the examples where the government and the communities they work together, what we call under the joint forest management system, and they're trying to replant the forest and also trying to conserve the wildlife. And you are going to read this on page 144. Read this also and try to understand. And now let's see about the sacred groups. What are actually the sacred groups? As it is written here, sacred groups are parts of forests or parts of large forests that have been left untouched, any interference with them being banned socially on account of sacredness and spirituality attached to them. Okay, let's see about the meaning of these sacred groups. Sacred group literally means a forest of gods and goddesses. Sacred qualities in Indian society are ascribed not only to forests but also to other creations of nature as well, such as rivers, mountain peaks, animals which are closely protected. So we know that sacred groups are being protected by the people since time immemorial because the people they have nature worship, and also they believe that all creation of nature have to be protected. Therefore, the trees, the animals, and the forests of that particular area they are protected, and the people they don't use things from those forests because they believe that it belongs to God. And you are going to read this page, and even in the Indian texts, ancient Indian texts, they have written about secret groups like in Kalidasa. And today we have about 1,000 square kilometer of undistributed secret groups scattered all over the country. And you see about these places how the secret groups actually survive. And many of the communities they are trying to protect in different ways, and you are going to read these points like the Mundas and the Santals. Then we have the tribal of Odisha in Bihar and Bihar worship, and especially the people and banyan trees are considered sacred all over the country. And you will see also about these places in Rajasthan, how they're trying to protect peacocks and black bucks. And what is very important now is you are going to see about some of the examples how they're trying to protect the trees and other animals. And we have a very famous movement that is called Chifku movement. And in this movement, they ban on felling of green trees in Himalayan forests in certain areas. And this Chipko movement was started by Gayatri Devi. She started this Chipko movement, and due to her effort, it has thus been able to resist deforestation and at the same time shown that community afforestation with indigenous species can be enormously successful. And we have also the Beach Basho Andolan in Terry and Nabdania, where they are trying to save the seed movement research. That means they are trying to save the seeds. And this community also they allow free exchange of seed within community and has proved to be a lifeline of traditional mountain agriculture. And the government is trying to work together with local communities through the joint forest management, where they believe that the local communities also has a great role to play in order to protect the forests, and that local communities need to be active participants in any kind of natural resources management, and the local communities get share of the timber collected by means of successful protection and non-timber forest products in return for the service of managing and restoring degraded forests. Therefore, many communities they're trying to protect the forest, and it is for us also, for you and me. We should have a sense of understanding that we should protect the forest and also the animals that are around us, so that our life and also the environment will be safe and we will all live happily. Thank you.